Carolyn Michael Banks, and I'm the founder and owner of A Tour of Possibilities. We are past excited this morning, and you're 6 feet away from me, so I can do this. We are so excited because we are now launching a tour called the Memphis Caravan Tour. As I mentioned, we do African American history tours, but what makes this particular rollout different is due to COVID-19, we just weren't comfortable having people in our 10-passenger van. So what we're doing is having our passenger van go through the city, but have individual cars follow it in a caravan. So that means that you'll have your smart device, it'll be connected hopefully to Bluetooth in your car, and you'll be able to hear the narration as we travel through the city. But this way you're only going to have people in your vehicle that you don't mind breathing on. No foreign breath in here. So this is how we're going to work it from now on. We're going, we operate Tuesday through Sundays twice a day in the morning and afternoon. Just go to atopmemphis.com for more information. We're going to hear the tour now, and I'll catch up with you later.
Just pull in right behind me, and we'll sit here for just a moment. The Mississippi River goes over 2,000 miles, and it goes through 10 states. It's the way that the founders of Memphis, and I put founders in air quotations because how can you pass? It was already found. They decided that they wanted to make this area here just like the ancient city of Memphis, and that's why they named it that. Because it is very useful in trade. Now we know that FedEx is huge, but this was even way bigger than FedEx. A lot of commerce came through here in the form of cotton and enslaved Africans. The location is perfect for trade because if you go to the west of Memphis, you end up in Arkansas, and if you drive maybe 10, 15 minutes south, you end up in Mississippi. We're going to continue on now, straight ahead, and we're going to be making a left-hand turn at the next light. While we're doing that, I want you guys to look to your front right by there on the Mississippi. There's a grassy knoll. That grassy knoll has a little building on it. Kind of looks like a red 18-wheeler with a flat tire. That is Beale Street Landing. Beale Street Landing is a place where you can get a sightseeing tour on the Mississippi in a little boat. And you can also, we're going to the right, you can also get a 7-day cruise from there, going to places like St. Louis, Nashville, and New Orleans. On the other side of Beale Street Landing, there is a park. The name of that park is Tom Lee Park. It's named after an African American who in 1925 was just sitting out there in his little boat, minding his own business, and he witnessed a steamship capsize. He was able to assist 36 people to safety off of that steamship. And when everyone asked him why in the world he would risk his life to save all of these people, he said, "I've seen what had to be done, and I've done it." And the city of Memphis has been celebrating Tom Lee ever since. We often have our wonderful Memphis festivals over at Tom Lee Park. We have the wonderful Memphis in May Festival, which is a music festival. And this musical festival, again, in May, is called Memphis in May. People come from all over the world, not only to hear music, play music, and just enjoy music. We're turning to the left at this next light. But just to enjoy themselves during the month of May. We also have the wonderful Memphis barbecue cooking contest, again, where people come from all over the world to enjoy barbecue. We're turning left onto Front Street. Front Street is the first street that was built above the mighty Mississippi, and it is also known as Cotton Row. Between 1850 and 1860, Memphis was one of the fastest growing cities in the entire United States because of those two commodities I mentioned before, cotton and enslaved Africans. And the buildings that you see on this street, on the left and the right, were once cotton warehouses. To use your imagination, you can imagine bales of cotton on both sides of the street, as far as the eye could see. And sometimes there would be so much cotton in the air that it would look like it was S-N-O-W-E. You will see as we cross this intersection on Union, to your right, the Cotton Museum. So if there's anything that you wanted to know about the cotton industry or anything that you did not want to know about the cotton industry, you can find out about it right there. As we cross this next intersection, which I think I'm going to wait because the light is about to change, I want to draw your attention to the building that is to your front left across the intersection. That is one of our branches of the Memphis Public Library, our CASIC branch. And the reason that we mention this library branch in this African American history tour is because in 1960, there was a protest held there with some of the students from Lemoyne Owen College, our only historically black college. They sat in from March until October of 1960 because the entire Memphis library system was segregated. At the end of all of those months, we were finally able to use the Memphis Public Library system. We were also able to ride the streetcars and go to the Memphis Zoo more than one day a week. On that one day a week, they would put a sign up that would say, "No whites allowed today." Once we get past this next crosswalk marker, I want you guys to start looking to your left. There is a park. This park it once was known as Confederate Park, but it's now known as the Fourth Bluff. I want you to use your imaginations again. This time, it is 1 year before the Emancipation Proclamation becomes law. And just imagine thousands of people standing in that park looking over at the mighty Mississippi because there is a battle happening on the water. This is during the Civil War. That battle, which only lasted 90 minutes, changed Memphis from a Confederate-held territory to a Union-held territory during the Civil War. And all of those cotton warehouses that we saw back there were turned into hospitals for the Civil War. We're getting ready to make a left-hand turn here at this light. And I think I will wait. Welcome to Memphis. Welcome to Memphis. I welcome you to Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, a little interlude for you guys at the light. So we're getting ready to make this left-hand turn. It's a very steep hill. It's one of the steepest hills in the city of Memphis because, you know, Memphis is very flat land. But while we do that, I want you to take note of that railroad monorail system that goes above our heads, straight ahead. That was take you over to Mud Island, which is over there across the mighty Mississippi. A nice place to go if you just want to hang out for a while. We're turning to the right, and we are getting ready to get onto the expressway. Guys, stay behind me, stay in the right-hand lane, and we will be getting off on the first exit. But in the meantime, look straight ahead, and you will see how we are paying homage to our African roots. That is our Memphis Pyramid. It was built in 1991 for our Grizzlies basketball team. The Memphis Grizzlies. Yes. They hail from Canada. And that is where we get our Grizzlies name. But when they got here, they took one look at that monstrosity of a building and said, "Are you kidding us? No. We cannot play professional basketball in that." So the city had to give them a new home, which they did get in 2004. And we will be going past their new home in just a while on this tour. When they got their new home in 2004, the pyramid, it stayed empty for about 10 years until Bass Pro Shops decided that they wanted it. And they turned it into one of the largest sports paradises in the world. It stands 321 feet into the air, which is 15 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. And if you're not into the outdoorsy thing, I understand, because I'm really not into that myself. But there's plenty more to do inside of that pyramid. There are 10 aquariums. We're continuing to our right. There's a restaurant, there's a bowling alley, and there's a 100-room luxury hotel. And if you're feeling a little adventurous, you can ride the glass elevator that will take you to the top so that you can step out onto the glass balcony. We're moving into the middle lane, and you can see a wonderful view of the city of Memphis. Here to our left, let's go ahead and move over into the left-hand lane. You will see a wonderful establishment called the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which was founded in 1962 by an actor by the name of Danny Thomas. Danny Thomas was famous for particularly two TV shows. One was called Make Room for Daddy, and the other, The Danny Thomas Show. Danny Thomas was very well known. He was very religious, and he was also a starving artist. We're turning to the left, and when we make this left-hand turn, if you get caught by the light, don't worry, we will not leave you behind. I'm going to pull over right here to the right so everybody else can catch up. And I'm going to finish my story while we wait. All right, so Danny Thomas decided that he was going to pray, as I said, and when he prayed to St. Jude, he said, "I promise that if you give me some money, I promise I'm going to give it back in some kind of way." And then he shortly after that heard a story about an African-American little boy who had been injured in an accident. And he was being taken from hospital to hospital, but was being denied treatment just because of the color of his skin. Danny Thomas believed that not one child should go through the dawn of life without that basic human right. So he started his own plans for his own children's hospital. He got the assistance of one of his friends, an African-American by the name of Paul R. Williams, who was an architect. But some people around here believe that an African-American should not work in such a capacity on such a project. Danny Thomas insisted, and he said, "Either you let my friend work on this project, or I'm going to take my project elsewhere." Well, as you can see, they changed their minds, and we're very proud to have the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in our own backyard, because kids can be seen from all over the world, and their parents don't have to pay 1 red cent. As we cross North 4th Street, I want you guys to look right beyond this street sign. There is a brown and white sign that says Trail of Tears Original Route, moving to the left-hand lane. This would have been one of the routes that the Native Americans would have taken as they were being expelled from this area. They would have gone straight ahead and over the Mississippi. Then they would have gone on into Arkansas and continued on to Oklahoma from there. This road that we're on right now it used to be called Auction Avenue, but now it is called A.W. Willis Avenue, and it's named after an African-American businessman and attorney. He was the first to open an integrated law firm here in the Mid-South, and he was also the attorney of note to assist the first African-American to get into the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss. And his name is James Meredith. A.W. Willis's widow is still alive and well, and she is a friend of mine. Her name is Miriam DaCosta Willis. She was right by her husband's side during the Civil Rights Movement, so much so that she herself was placed in jail because of protests. She is also a world-renowned author. So when you get a moment, look up A.W. Willis and Miriam DaCosta Willis. We're going to make a left-hand turn at this next light. And once again, if you get caught by the light, we will wait for you. Alex, you made it with me, so just follow me around this corner, okay? And everybody else will catch up with us as well. Stay here so they can see where we are. Just want to make sure you're on the curb. There you go. And here they come. I want you to look to your right. Right there in that little park. This is known as Auction Square. And some people will tell you that African Americans or enslaved Africans were sold on top of that boulder that you see there that's surrounded by the fence. Everyone see it? If you don't, feel free to unmute and let me know if you can't see anything that I am pointing out along the way. Now, I am here to tell you that African Americans were not sold on top of that boulder. That is a rumor. And the reason that we know that it's a rumor is because of two reasons. One is because it was against the law here in Tennessee to sell your enslaved Africans in public like that. You had to sell them in private at a dealership, kind of like a car. The other reason that we know that they were not sold on top of that boulder is because that boulder was not placed there until 1924. It was placed there by the Colonial Dames of America, which is a government organization that they just go around the country and place markers and other ways to commemorate the founders, let's put it in quotations again, founders of this country. Some people will also tell you that that is where the Spanish explorer, Hernando de Soto, stood and first saw the mighty Mississippi for the first time. And we know that's probably not true, because looking at the landscape from here, you can't see the mighty Mississippi. We're going to continue on now. going to go straight ahead, and we will make a right-hand turn at the next street. In the meantime, you can get an up-close and personal view of our beautiful pyramid to your front left. There are rumors also that the pyramid is haunted, but I cannot dispel that myth. We're going to continue straight across this next light. And Alex, when we do, I'm going to position myself in a spot, and then I'm going to have you replace me in that spot. Just stay there. I'm going to continue on across the railroad tracks, okay? So, Alex, if you can sit right here in this spot for me, don't block the driveway, okay? And I'm going to continue on across the tracks, and that will get us out of the way of traffic. And I want you guys to look to your left, and you will see that white building. That is what remains of the old Shelby County jailhouse. It was used during the 1800s, and it was designed in such a way that not one prisoner would be able to escape those walls. And they did a great job, because not one prisoner did escape those walls. 41 prisoners escaped those walls, all on the same night. But the way that the cells are designed, it was designed so that if the prisoners were to chip through the concrete in their cells, they would end up eventually hitting some sand, and the sand would flood their walls, their cells. And one of the prisoners figured out a way around that system, and he got out of the jail. Afterwards, the other 40 prisoners that were there in the jailhouse, they followed right behind him. So they lost all of their prisoners at the same time. So they ended up closing the old Shelby County jailhouse, and they reopened it as a dog pound. But then some folks started asking questions. Who let the dogs out? Because the dogs started getting out too. So they ended up closing it for good. If you could look across those railroad tracks that I just went across, and look at the sign that is to your left. It's a green and white sign. I'm actually parked right across from it. At the top of that sign, it says, "The Lynching of Lee Walker." Lee Walker was a prisoner there at the old Shelby County jailhouse in 1893. And he was being accused of assaulting 2 white women. So a mob surrounded the jailhouse. They broke into the jailhouse, and they pulled Lee Walker out. They pulled him all the way over here to where this marker stands, where a telegraph pole stood at the time. They used a rope to hang him with until he died. And then they decided that they wanted to set his body on fire. But they weren't finished. They gave out pieces of the rope that they used to lynch him with, and they gave it to people that were in the mob to take home with them as souvenirs. But they still weren't finished. They decided that they were going to give him his day in court by dragging his dead body through the streets of Memphis all the way to the Shelby County Courthouse. We will be making our way to the courthouse in just a bit. The 2 women that he was being accused of assaulting, well, they never identified him as their assailant. We're going to continue on now. will be making a right-hand turn at this next street. There is a bill that has been in Congress more than 200 times, and yet it has still not been passed. That is the federal anti-lynching law, and right now, or it still has not been passed, to this day. You will see to my left a tannish, brownish building that has Greyhounds at the top. This is the old Greyhound building that it was part of the Dixie Greyhound line that was part of. It was the old Dixie Greyhound line during the 1930s through the 1950s. Now this building is used for warehouse space, some office space. There's an African-American kayaking company called Allen's Kayaking that is housed in there. So if you want to take a kayaking tour on the Mississippi or maybe do an overnight camping trip, then Allen will make sure that will happen. So just let us know. We got the hookup for you. They also use this building as art studio space because art is huge here in Memphis. Art tends to pop up at any moment here in Memphis, way more than graffiti. So if you look to your right, you'll see the raindrops on the fence. Those are marking some of the waterways that have been made to allow for runoff in case of flooding from the Mississippi. You'll see some more art to your left on the building, and you will see another one of these water ditches for that runoff. And since we just left the old Greyhound station, I need you guys to unmute yourselves because I need your answers. Returning to the right. When I say the words bus and civil rights, what first comes to mind?
The Montgomery bus boycott.
Listen to you. All right. Very, very, very good. That is perfect. Yes, the Montgomery bus boycott. And do you know who was instrumental for that? Who's most remembered by that boycott? Returning to the left.
I mean, do you want me to say Rosa Parks?
Yes, definitely Rosa Parks. And you may have heard a story about her not wanting to give up her seat on that bus to a white man. I'm pulling over to the right so this car can get past us, and then I'm going to move back into the street, Alex, so you can get right behind me. Okay. So that story of her doing that, a lot of people will say that she was tired, but I'm here to tell you that she was just sick and tired. Okay? The year was 1955, which is the year that Emmett Till was killed. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy who was visiting his family from Chicago. He was from Chicago, but he was making his way to Mississippi for that family visit. When he got there, he was accused of whistling at a white woman. We're pulling to the right here for just a moment. Unfortunately, when he was accused of whistling at this white woman, they decided in the middle of the night to go to his family's house, get Emmett Till, pull him out of the house, and they took him and they killed him. They lynched him. They beat him so badly that he was unrecognizable. And when they sent his body back to Chicago to his mother, she decided that she was going to have an open casket funeral for him. and pictures were taken of his body. And one of those pictures landed on Rosa Parks' desk, where she was working as a secretary for the NAACP. So Rosa has been quoted as saying, "That conductor asked me to move from my seat, but all I could think of was Emmett Till, and I could not move a muscle." So she was emotionally tired from that event. We're going to continue on now. This area here, as you can see, is kind of remote off of downtown. We are still technically in downtown, but back in the 1800s, this was a very remote area. In fact, it was where the stockyards were. And when I say stockyards, I want you guys to think of cows and pigs and chickens and geese and sheep and those kinds of animals. This was also part of the Underground Railroad. We're going to pull to the right, and I want you to look to your right at that White House. This White House was built by Jacob Burkle, a German immigrant who built this house specifically so that he could be an abolitionist on the Underground Railroad. If you look at the foundation of the house, you will see holes in that foundation. Those holes are air vents so that the enslaved, runaway Africans would be able to breathe fresh air while they were hiding in the cellar of this house. This is now a museum called Slave Haven, and they will give you a guided tour of the house. They will also give you a very in-depth history of the transatlantic slave trade. They will let you see the living room, the bedroom. They will also let you see the tunnel that runs underneath the house, that runs to that cellar space. We're going to continue around the next corner, but we're going to stay stationary there for just a moment while we talk about this house just a little bit more. As we make this turn, I want you to look at the front yard of the house where we were just parked. You will see some large trees there, large green trees. Those are called Magnolia trees, which are evergreen trees. And when I say evergreen, that means that their leaves stay green year-round, including during the winter time, which would have been the best time for the enslaved Africans to run, because the nights are longer during the winter time. And also, less people want to be outside. So there's less eyeballs to see you running. So if you were going down the street looking for a place to hide, someone might tell you, look for the house with the trees, with the green leaves. And then you would have to get into the house. So continue looking at the house and look at the very last window to the left. You see how low it is to the ground. They would be able to climb through that window and drop straight down into the tunnel. And then they would shimmy their way under the house to make their way to the cellar space. And once they were in that space, they would stay there until it was safe for them to move to their next location on the Underground Railroad. We're going to continue on now down this street. The date is January 1st, 1863. there was a document that was signed by then President Abraham Lincoln that was law. It stated that those who were enslaved here in America were now free. What was the name of that document?
The Emancipation Proclamation.
That is correct, the Emancipation Proclamation. And the Emancipation Proclamation had a loophole in it. That loophole was that if you were in a Union-held territory, that you were free. And if you remember, a little while ago, I told you that there was a battle that lasted 90 minutes on the mighty Mississippi. Returning to the right. That battle that lasted 90 minutes turned this area into a Union-held territory, which meant that if you were enslaved here in Memphis, you were still considered to be enslaved. Until 2 years later, with the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which stated that if you were, well, you weren't going to be enslaved any longer unless you were incarcerated. If you were incarcerated, and you could be incarcerated for any law that you might have broken. It could have been just for spitting on the sidewalk. Well, you were then to be considered free labor, and that law is still in effect today. So if you see prisoners on the side of the road and they're picking up trash, that is because of the 13th Amendment. Or if you see them, or you've heard stories about them making license plates, or appliances or furniture behind bars for little to no money, that is because of the 13th Amendment. We're turning to the left. The 13th Amendment is also where we are, why we are celebrating today, Juneteenth. Juneteenth was the day, June 19th, when all of those who were enslaved finally got the word, all the way down south in Texas, that they were free. Information that they had not been given previously. A little bit of trivia for you. Memphis has about 650,000 people that live here, and we are 65% African American. This area here is known as Uptown, and you see these cute houses. They haven't always been here, though. So I want you to use your imaginations once again and imagine huge mansions on both sides of the street. This is where the elite Memphians would have lived, darling. Until 1912, when there was a flood, a great flood, where some of the water from the Mississippi almost made it up to this point. We're going to pull over to the right. So those wealthy Memphians decided to literally run for the hills, and they abandoned their mansions. They abandoned them for so long that the city of Memphis decided that they would have to bulldoze them. And then they wanted some white immigrants to stay here in the city of Memphis. So they built a public housing development and called it Hurt Village. We had immigrants who were here from Russia. There were some Jewish immigrants. There were some Irish, German immigrants like Jacob Burkle, who built Slave Haven. They wanted all of them to stay. During the height of the Civil Rights Movement, there was a lot of clashing between the whites and blacks here in Memphis. Eventually, those white immigrants moved out of Hurt Village, and black Memphians moved in. Around the year 2000, the city of Memphis received a grant for development. So they asked those African Americans to move out of Hurt Village. They bulldozed Hurt Village, and then they built those cute houses back there. And we call that whole situation gentrification. You might remember a story. It was actually a movie called The Blind Side. We're going to continue on. It was about football player Michael Orr, who lived in Hurt Village, and it was highlighted in the movie. I know personally that Michael Orr did not like that movie. I'll tell you just a little plot of that movie here. So Michael Orr lived there. He was going through some things with his mom. There was a white family called the Tuies. They decided to take Michael in. They adopted him. They put him in a private school. And then he went on to go to the University of Mississippi. And he then went on to play professional football with the NFL. He played for the Ravens. Go Ravens, go, go, go Ravens, go. I love the Ravens. Sorry guys, I am I am from Baltimore originally, so I'm going to celebrate the Ravens. So I was really excited when I had an opportunity to meet Michael Orr here in Memphis, and he told me personally that he did not like that movie. The reason is because they made him look like he was stupid. And he said, Miss Jackie, I am not stupid. I'm very intelligent. So what Michael Orr did was he wrote his own book so that he could tell his own story. And the name of that book is called I Beat the Odds. We're going to make a left-hand turn here as we make our way into the Pitch District. This is one of the first commercial districts here in Memphis. You will see the mural to our right. That says Pitch District. As we cross this intersection, you will be able to see the Memphis Pyramid to our right. And you will see St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital to your left. There's a lot of development in this area. Unfortunately, the Pitch District has lost some of their buildings during this development. Like when they built the pyramid, we're going to the left, the designers did a great job with that, but they forgot one important part of the development, and that was parking. So some of the buildings in the Pitch District had to be sacrificed for the pyramid, for the parking. If you can look to your front right, across the light, you will see a light-colored building with a black awning. That building is Alcinia's restaurant. It's a soul food restaurant. They have been featured on the Food Network. So if you get a chance you want some good soul food, make your way to Alcinia's, but make sure you leave plenty of time for your visit, because it's like going home for dinner. I'm going to make a right-hand turn here at this light. I want to thank you for coming on this caravan tour. And as we move through the streets, I'm gonna tell you some more. And if you don't know, that's called the blues. It seems that every blue song just goes like this to you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to try to make everybody through this light. I want you to look to your left before we cross the next light. That is the Shelby County Courthouse. This is where James Earl Ray was housed for 8 months while he was waiting to be moved so that he could serve his 100-year jail sentence. He was tried and convicted for the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Unfortunately, he didn't finish out his jail sentence. He did die behind bars from hepatitis C. Continuing on. As we cross this next light at Adams Avenue, this will be the beginning of the slave-marked area. We're going to continue to make left-hand turns. There is a mail truck in front of us. We're going to have to move into the middle lane and go around him and make that left-hand turn. So when I say slave mart, I want you guys to think about Kmart or Walmart. But instead of them selling merchandise, they were selling people. They had ads that they would place in the newspaper that would say, Negroes, as cheap as you can buy them, as fresh as you can get them. Turning to the left again, staying in the left-hand lane. There were two major slaveholding companies here in Memphis. One was run by a man named Wade Bolton. It was Bolton Dixon Company. Another was run by Nathan Bedford Forrest. And you will see a marker to our left. This is a silver marker that says Forrest Early Home. This is where his dealership was. In the middle of that marker, it says where his business enterprises made him wealthy. But they don't indicate what those business enterprises were. So, as we make this left-hand turn, I'm going to draw your attention to another marker. It will also be to your left, but it is a green and white marker as soon as you make the turn. And it says Forrest and the Memphis slave trade. That is the only marker within the city of Memphis that even mentions the slave trade. It was placed there by a group of students from Rhodes College here in Memphis and some of the members of this church that you will see to the left. This is called Calvary Episcopal Church, and it was here at the time of the Memphis slave trade. That marker was placed during MLK 50, which was the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King. During the MLK 50, ceremonies were held all year long, where markers were placed like the one that we saw back there. Statues were raised, murals were painted, ceremonies were held. One of those ceremonies was held here in Calvary Episcopal Church. And the current pastor of that church said that he could not fathom that the members of that church would sit there week after week praising God, knowing full well what was happening in their own backyard. So what they did was they ended up getting the names of the African Americans who were sold on the auction block. And they read each of their names onto that list. And after each name was called, the bell would toll. So they would say Jonathan, then the bell would ring. Then they would say Margaret, age 6, and the bell would ring. And you can probably imagine by the time they made it to that last name, there was not a dry eye in that church. Memphis used to be run by a man named E.H. Crump. He was the mayor of Memphis during the early 1900s. And they say that he ran Memphis with an iron fist. In fact, they called him Boss Crump. And there was nothing that occurred within the city of Memphis that was not approved by Boss Crump. Memphis was known as one of the quietest cities in the entire United States. Well, how is that? Because it was against the law to even blow your horn within the city limits. So, we're going to be a little bad today. Let's all break E.H. Crump's law and just blow. Right? Take the eye out, all right, Memphis is home to a lot of firsts. One of those firsts is we have the first Holiday Inn opening right here in Memphis. You will see the Holiday Inn to your left. Now, that's not the first one, but I'm going to tell you the story of how it came to be. There was a businessman by the name of Cummings Wilson, and he went on a trip with his family to Washington, D.C., and when they got back, he said that he could not stand, he did not like any of the accommodations along the way, and he felt that he could do it much better. So, he opened up the first Holiday Inn right here in Memphis on Summer Avenue. Another one of Memphis's first was the first. Hello? Hello? Yes, I can hear you. Can you meet me? Oh, sorry. No problem. So, the Memphis, the first self-serve grocery store chain. Who can answer for me what the name of that grocery store chain was? The very first self-service grocery store chain.
Piggly Wiggly.
Yes, Piggly Wiggly. Yes, Piggly Wiggly. That is correct. All right, here's another question for you. What is the name of the book that African Americans would have to use when they were traveling the highways and byways? And they needed to find a restaurant or they needed to find a hotel that they were able to go to. The Green Book. Yes, that is correct. The Green Book. And do you know how it gets its name?
Because the cover was green.
That's a good guess. The cover was green, but it was named after the author of that book. His name was Victor Hugo Green. If you look to your left, you will see the Blue City Cafe. That was found in the Blue Book, the Green Book, but it was under a different name. It was called Clark Hotel, or Hotel Clark. And as you can see, it's right across the street from B.B. King's Blues Club, which is named after the king of the blues, B.B. King. And we are about to cross world-famous Beale Street. We'll go real slow over across this intersection. So you can look down Beale Street. for yourself. So you want to look to your left. You will see all of the restaurants that are there.
What about that Hotel Clark, Jackie? What were you saying?
That it was an African American hotel that you could find in the Green Book. As we make our way to the next light, there will be a park to your right. The name of this park is the Martin Luther King Jr. Reflection Park. This park was opened during MLK 50. They have some nice, comfortable seating for you. They also have some rare photos by the photographer Ernest Withers. This structure that you see on the corner is a statue that was done that is named the Mountaintop, which is named after Dr. King's last speech. I've been to the mountaintop. And I'm sure that Dr. King would appreciate that you would go to the park, sit and reflect on his life. But knowing the kind of person that Dr. King was, he probably would appreciate that you would sit there and also reflect on your own life and figure out how you might be able to make a positive difference in this world as well. You can see to your right a radio station, WLOK, which is one of the first African American radio stations opened here in Memphis. Going to turn right. And we are now approaching the Lorraine Motel, which you will see the sign to your front right. We're going to turn to the left. The Lorraine was originally called the Marquette Hotel, and you could find the Marquette in the Green Book. It was owned by a white man who decided that he was going to sell it to an African American couple, Mr. and Mrs. Walter Bailey. And they decided that they were going to make it an upscale African American hotel. When I say upscale, we're talking about they were allowed to have air conditioning. They also had a swimming pool. And it was not uncommon that you would be sitting around that pool. We're going to the right, and then we're going to make another right-hand turn. You could be sitting around that pool just talking to somebody like Aretha Franklin or Ray Charles. We're going to the right again. And as we make the turn to the left, as we go past the Lorraine, I want to draw your attention to the right. You will see a balcony with a red and white wreath on it. That is room 306, where Dr. King was staying with his friend, Ralph Abernathy. That is where he was standing when he was assassinated. This fire station that you see to the right was here at the time of Dr. King's assassination. And there was a police officer who was stationed inside of that that fire station. His job was to look over at the hotel just to ensure Dr. King's safety. Another police officer was assigned to work directly with Dr. King as his bodyguard. Both of those police officers, along with the other African-American police officers on the Memphis police force, were told that they were relieved of duty that morning prior to Dr. King's assassination. And some people will tell you that there was... Never mind on that. I'm going to sing for you. What I'm going to sing for you is a song that Dr. King had requested from his friend. His friend was named Ben Branch, who happened to be a saxophonist who was standing below Dr. King's room down there in the square. And he looked down and he says, "Yo, Ben, can you sing that song for me at the rally? You know the song, my favorite song in the whole world." Ben said, "You know I will." And this is the song that he requested. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, and help me stand. I am tired. I am weak. Who knows the name of that song? I got a little choked up.
Precious Lord.
Yes, it is Precious Lord. And that was Dr. King's favorite song by the singer Mahalia Jackson. She used to travel with Dr. King whenever he would speak, and she would sing for him. All right, looking to the left, before we cross this next light, you will see a park. This is called Army Park. And across the street...
I think you lost some folks.
Sorry?
There's a truck behind us now.
Okay.
We're good. We got you.
Okay.
Then we have Navy Park. These were two of the first integrated parks here in the Mid-South. This area that we're in right now is called South Memphis, which has traditionally been an African-American community. I'm going to tell you about an incident that occurred in South Memphis. It's called the 1866 Memphis Massacre. In May of 1866, May 1st through the 3rd, there was a melee that occurred. It was between some of the recently released African-American Union soldiers and some of the white Irish police officers who most likely were also members of the KKK. After the 3 days, 46 African Americans had been killed. Five women had been raped. And just about every business, every school, every church in the area was destroyed. Congress sent a team to investigate what happened, and that's why we're able to tell you what happened. Unfortunately, even at the end of that investigation, no one was ever brought to justice for those atrocities. The Tennessee Historical Society wanted to place a marker in honor of those who died on those 3 days. But they wanted their marker to read the 1866 Memphis riot. So, the local branch of the NAACP, along with the National Park Service, they got together and they had another marker placed instead. And their marker would read the 1866 Memphis Massacre, because there is a difference between a massacre and a riot. We're turning to the left. And as we make this left-hand turn, please look to your front right and you'll see a beautiful church. This church was once known as Second Presbyterian, but it is now known as Claiborne Temple. This is where the sanitation workers would meet while they were striking, and the signs that they would carry during the strike, the ones that said, "I am a man," they were made in the basement of this church. This is also where Dr. King met with the sanitation workers to strike, to march down this street in March of 1968. They marched straight ahead. Those buildings were not here at the time, so they went ahead. They would eventually reach Beale Street, turn left, and unfortunately, within 25 minutes of beginning that march, violence broke out. So they whisked Dr. King away for his safety. But he was devastated because the eyes of the world were on Memphis, but they were looking at Memphis for the wrong reason. They were looking at the violence that had broken out rather than the reason that the sanitation workers were striking. And there were three reasons. The first reason was because they were making pennies on the dollar. The second reason is because they were not being treated like men. And that's why they carried those signs that said, "I am a man." And the third reason is because they were working under atrocious working conditions. Two sanitation workers had jumped into the back of one of the trucks.
Well, we're going to end our segment here. This is pretty much our halfway point. I'm so glad you had a chance to join us. Thank you, We Are Memphis, for bringing this to so many people. And we just can't wait to have you as part of the Memphis Caravan go through this incredibly rich city. And I tell you, I believe in my heart of hearts that you'll have a different opinion of this city and just appreciate it for all that it's worth. And again, this is just not for tourists only. This is for those who live here, work here, the transplants like myself. I'm a girl from the Boogie Down Bronx, but I have been living here in Memphis now for 20 years, and it is a place to reckon with. And I'm just, once again, so thankful for the opportunity to share just a little bit of what we do. Just go to atopmemphis.com, atopmemphis.com, and shoot me a message if you'd like. Once again, we do have gift cards and stuff available, but just come in and really kind of wrap your arms around this incredible city. Peace out.